Wilder Show podcast. Welcome. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Hello.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Okay. Instagram. If you want to follow us on Instagram, just go to Instagram and then you'll search Wilder Show Pod. And you'll find it and you'll follow us. You'll tell friends, I hope.
Easy.
Yeah. If you want to send us email, just email to podcast@wildershow.com. Podcast@wildershow.com. And we answer our email, don't we, Lauren?
We do.
Yeah, we got some email in the last week.
You did answer that last one I told you about?
Fairly certain.
Okay.
I really don't know.
If not, if you're listening right now and saying, that's not true, you don't reply to all your email.
Oh, sorry about
we're
that.
on it.
That's my fault.
I think you probably did. I just haven't checked.
I don't even know. Okay.
I bet you did.
Make sure, Lauren. I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'll check maybe during one of your stories.
You know why I thought about that? Why? When you're not really paying attention, you mean? The reason I even thought about that, and this is all going to have to be kind of coded.
Uh-oh.
But the person who wrote the email is going to know exactly what we're talking about.
I did respond. Yeah, I did respond. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. So,
I did respond.
Do you know, did you see the little thing that she talked about? The email that I'm talking about referenced a little figure.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Did you see that at the event where we were on Saturday night?
No.
There was one there.
Was there one really?
Yeah, there was one there.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
That's very coded.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, yes, but I did send a note to her on the thing you asked me to.
Very good. Then we'll edit out all that other stuff about if you haven't gotten your response.
We
always
say we'll edit it. We never do.
In post, I
know. So we won't. Podcast@wildershow.com. And did I mention that if you send us an email, we'll answer? Stop, Lauren. Stop. Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. A bunch of I've never even heard of places where you can get our podcasts. For real.
Seriously?
Absolutely. Seriously. Yeah. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And we appreciate you doing that. In fact, I was just, we're on in 10 countries. We have 10 countries, little podcast update.
You mean we have 10 countries where someone has downloaded or listened to our
that's
streamed.
True. And our countries are in no particular order. The United States.
Yeah.
We have some people that listen in the United States. Romania, Canada, UK, Russia, Netherlands, Poland, Germany, Ireland, Spain.
Wow.
Those are our countries.
I've been to one of those places.
Let's see. Where have I been? I've been to Poland. I've been to Netherlands. I've been to Russia. Been to the UK. Been to Germany. And to the United States. But not to the other ones. But anyway. So thank you, everyone, for your emails and all of that. A Castbox. I don't know what it is. Some people go to Castbox.
Like webcast, broadcast.
I guess so.
That kind of cast.
One is Overcast. Okay,
that's kind of cool.
And some go to the web browser. I don't know. So different places, but we are also on the places where you would maybe be more with which you would be more familiar. Tell a friend, would you? As we spend time together. We have to say a word about the Kentucky Derby. Man, I was so jazzed by that story that we told on the last podcast. That we had the two horses, Rodriguez and
Tistastic.
That they were sired by two horses that placed first and second in 2020.
Right.
And a lot of people thought maybe Bob Baffert's Rodriguez was going to win the Kentucky Derby. It was 12-1 odds, I think. So not a favorite, but still. Turns out he withdrew. They withdrew him like on the day of the race. I wanted to call and say, don't you know it's in our podcast? You can't pull him from the race. We talked about it. The podcast is going to be up. And you know what they said?
What?
We don't care. And so he did not run for the Roses.
Nope.
No, but Sovereignty won. And Sovereignty was, I think, 4-1. No, 5-1, I think. So the 3-1 was the favorite. And but the 5-1 won. And do you know what Sovereignty's lineage is?
I don't.
He's a 5th-generation descendant of the greatest winner in Kentucky Derby history. Secretariat.
I was going to say Secretariat.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Do you have it right in front of you?
I don't.
About when Secretariat
won?
Was it like late 70s?
5 horses ago. 5th generation. I
have a memory of all of that, of him winning. And
you
I'm trying to remember.
See if you're right?
Yeah. I'm thinking late 70s.
Okay.
I don't even want to go as far as early 80s. I don't think it was that late.
Let's find out.
Okay.
Well, Secretariat, of course, died in 1989.
Okay.
At the age of 19, so young. And Kentucky Derby. Well, of course, the big thing for Secretariat, or it's not exclusive to Secretariat, but was a Triple Crown.
Triple Crown.
Won all 3, right? The Preakness and the Belmont and the Kentucky Derby. But what year were you guessing?
Late 70s?
Nay.
No, early 80s.
Let me name a song, Rocket Man.
Early 70s.
That's right. But
wow.
Give me a year.
73.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, 1973. So there you go. Secretariat. Anyway, I wanted to get that out of the way because somebody might have watched the Derby on Saturday and said, hey, they don't know what they're talking about. There's no horse in here named Rodriguez. That's true. Because Baffert just put another one of his horses in, Baez, and didn't win.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Number 2 was journalism.
That's true. I think that's true, yeah. So that would have been your little gambling thing you like to do.
Had I been there, and
think you would have gotten that?
Wagering, I probably would have put my my couple of bucks on journalism.
Yeah, good for
maybe.
You. Yeah,
maybe
good for
not.
You. Yeah, maybe so. This probably goes without saying, but I'm nervous anytime President Trump is speaking.
Yeah, and do you remember we used to kind of talk about that too, if I might here.
Yeah, sure.
When George Bush was first running for president, George W. Bush, yeah. And we said that we often kind of had the feeling of that we had when our kids who were young at the time, when it was their turn to be goalie. On soccer. Yeah. You just had a nervousness that you didn't have the rest of
just let the
time.
Game be over.
Part of it was, we liked him. We wanted him to do well, but there was also a little bit of a nervousness that he might not say something, wrong or crazy, but maybe something that the press could jump on and make fun of and maybe pull him down a little bit. So we kind of had that, but this is different.
This is completely different, and but I understand what you're saying. But we've said before, it is easier to be the critic than the man in the arena.
Sure,
it is so easy to be the critic. That is so simple, as we've said many times. I mean, were I inclined, I would salivate every weekend, just waiting for how many nuggets of nonsense I could get and use on the radio or wherever, or just in life. And now, of course, you post your stuff on your own little YouTube or whatever. Right. But he was on Meet the Press. You know who Marie Antoinette is? You know who that is, right? Who that was? Marie Antoinette. And she was very famous for one saying. Maybe more than one, but certainly one saying. The peasants under her purview or her care were starving. Yeah. And her helpers came to her and said, the peasants don't have any bread. They're starving. They have no bread. And as the legend goes, she so famously said, let them eat cake. They have no bread. Let them eat cake. And that became, over the years, it's been disputed whether she actually said that or not. Of course, she would not have said it in English. So you have a whole translation issue, but that became sort of a indicative of the dismissive nature of the wealthy. Yeah, like she had no idea what was completely out of touch with regular people. And so when there is talk about the tariffs, and tariffs are going to cost stuff from China to be more expensive, and somebody says, 80% of the toys that we get are made in China. 80% are made in China. And what the president said was, well, maybe girls don't need 30 dolls. Maybe they could just have two. Now, obviously, I agree with the words, but it was being used as a sort of a dismissive thing.
Yeah.
And I understand. My whole thing is, gosh, it's so unforced errors. I think that's the thing. Mm-hmm. He's the king of, he'll like that immediately. I said king.
He can be the king of anything. And
he's the king of unforced errors.
Yeah.
Just, there's no need to give the other side a stick to beat you with.
Right.
But he does it all the time. And just among those things, he was on Meet the Press over the weekend, and I was catching up on all my news. And among the things he was asked, and this is another thing, this is not his fault. They asked him in an interview about running for a third term. Mm-hmm. Well, it's against the Constitution to run for a third term. But if he doesn't answer the question, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they ask a question. When's the last time? Did they ever ask that question of Barack Obama? No. Did they ever ask that question of Bill Clinton? No. Now, were there people clamoring for a third term of either of those? I don't know. But all I do know is it is such easy bait to put that out there. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes something, let's create news. The news reporters or the news outlets are creating the news. They can create it by asking a question and then saying, look, here's what he said. So he answered the same way he said before. But Kristen Welk, her name is the moderator on Meet the Press, said, there are people that are, wondering if you will be seeking to run for a third. And so he has to answer the question. Of course, part of the problem is, somebody somewhere is probably, somebody attached to him is making money from hats that say Trump 2028. Now, if he were honest, he would say, is it Kristen or it's Kristen, I think. Kristen is the Kristen. That's just to make money. I mean, of course, I'm not going to run. Now, he came out, I think today or whatever, and said, "Of course, I'll be a 2-term president. That's it. I'll be president for 8 years." Mm-hmm. I mean, can we get past this? They'll never get past it. I mean, when there is a lull, they will ask that question again just to get some kind of answer to then make it seem like, hey, this guy really wants to be a dictator.
And that was floated at some point, wasn't it? Was it just by people who are
MAGA crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, MAGA. I
didn't even want to say that. But
I mean MAGA, full of MAGA.
I mean, people.
Right? I mean, they're the grand MAGA.
Yes.
The grand wizards of MAGA.
That has been, it's not, I think,
you'd have to change the Constitution.
And I know. I mean, I know that it's not like, when people, I heard her ask him that question on Sunday morning. And whatever his answer is, I realized before he answered the question, I was thinking, it's not that easy. There's a lot of stuff that would have to happen.
I know.
But he has said things to that effect before, hasn't he?
I think what he, we've
to
talked
kind of
about,
fuel the fire, just in a way, maybe that the other presidents that you mentioned didn't necessarily do.
I think, first of all, they want to sell those hats.
Yeah.
The 2028 hats. But I think also he likes to seem to be a guy that's in high demand. Yeah. And so he says, well, people have said, would you run again? Mr. President. Sir.
Some people want me to.
So many people.
Many.
This is not just me.
Many people want me to.
Many important people.
Many people have asked.
Many people, not me. Want me. But so I think, look, he wants to always seem like that guy that everybody wants to do more and all this. But it's silly. It's silly talk, and it makes me less respectful because I want to be respectful of the news folks. Why do you waste time with that? You got the president of the United States. There's a trillion things that are really important to talk about. You have them for exactly 32 minutes, or whatever it turned out to be in terms of actual time, and that's what you're going to talk to him about. I mean, talk to him about hair dye, or you're going to talk about things that don't even matter. We'll spend more time on that. I don't want to spend more time on it. But he's not looking to run in 2028. So let's just could we please put that to bed? Now, he did come out and say, now the thing is, here's the thing. This actually could be true. Okay. But it sounds, when it comes from him, it sounds crazy. And so Kristen, you probably heard it. Kristen asked on Meet the Press, when will we see the Trump economy? And he said, well, I think you are seeing some of the Trump economy. And she said, well, which part is the Trump economy and which part is the Biden economy? And he said what you would expect him to say. The good part is the Trump economy and the bad part is the Biden economy. Now, that sounds ridiculous, but there might be something to that. I mean, in terms of the energy policy of this president. So in some areas, it may be coming down. In other areas, it may be staying high. It's hard to bring, Ronald Reagan became president at a horrible recession time. I mean, horrible, right after Jimmy Carter.
Sure.
Everybody says good things about Jimmy Carter now because he's gone. But there was horrible days, horrible
tough times,
days.
For sure.
Very tough times. And Ronald Reagan came in, and we did have a bit of a recession, but he had to fix a bunch of stuff. And so a little bit of pain, but a whole bunch of gain down the road. So it really may be that. But that was an interesting response when he said, well, the good parts of the economy are the ones that I've brought you, and the other parts are the part that the other guy brought you. Okay, and then the part about upholding the Constitution. The president, quote, the president says he doesn't know whether he must uphold the Constitution. Now, you watched the interview.
I didn't see the whole thing, but yes.
Well, there was a point, there was a part where he says he doesn't know whether he's required to uphold the Constitution. It's not exactly what he said. His comments came after following the Supreme Court last month saying his administration must facilitate the release of that guy Garcia, Quilomar Abrego Garcia. And the president said, I don't know. When asked whether he needs to uphold the Constitution, what he said, I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me. He said, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But yes, we have to follow the Constitution. But the part that makes the news is when he says, I don't know. I've said before, it's like when I talked about passing out, filtered cigarettes to elementary school kids.
Right.
Of course, I don't believe that. That was absurdity to point out absurdity.
Sure. But if somebody had grabbed just that little thing and taken it out of context, it would have been completely different.
Crazy, man. The president wants to rename Veterans Day, and this is a dumb idea. I don't know why. What's the deal with having to have your fingerprints on everything? It's like a dog marking territory. What is the deal with having to have your mark in every part of the lawn or the neighborhood?
I don't want to say a lot of guys are like that. Doesn't it kind of seem like more men are like that than women? Maybe not. We see that in business a lot, right? Every time there's somebody new at the top of the chain, they want to make their they want to make their presence known.
But I mean, you don't rename Veterans Day Victory Day for World War I. Hey, are you going to the Victory Day for World War I parade?
What's the why does he want to do that?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. He just wants to like Gulf of America and whatnot, and wants to. I don't know. It's like we've talked before about how when a new boss comes in.
Yeah, that's what I. Yeah.
But usually it's a guy, or sometimes it's a guy. But we've seen it with ladies too.
Sure.
Where a new person comes in and they're going to change things up. Because if they don't change things up, you might wonder, well, why did we not just keep the other person?
And there's a good chance you might be successful.
That's right.
And then even when you're gone, you'll be remembered as the one who did whatever. And
so, and when you have the opportunity, if it's brand new, it's got a if you do whatever you want to do, what would you want to do? We probably shouldn't name what it is, but there was a charity that had great placement for their Christmas charity.
Yeah.
On radio stations all across the country. And they had a new Grand Poobah that came in. And this new Grand Poobah, it turns out, was not so grand. And what he said, it was a man, what he said was, I think we've been doing that a long time. I think we're not going to do that anymore. Oh, my goodness.
It's a big mistake.
Nobody in that part of the world could believe it. Hold on. You already have a secured Christmas campaign, fourth quarter, year-end giving at all these places in all these major
where you're
markets.
Dug in. You're a known entity.
You're a known entity.
You've been there a long time.
You've already branded for years. It's like we did it last year, we did the year before, we do it again. Nope, we're just going to, this guy wanted to put his fingerprints on stuff. And that's just not always a good idea. To say, well, I'm here now and I'm going to put my fingerprints on. So I say no to changing the name of Veterans Day. Veterans Day is Veterans Day. It is not something else. And I think he may have already done this. He wants to reopen Alcatraz.
Oh,
did you see
that's
that?
been all over the news.
He wants to reopen
today.
Alcatraz.
Yes.
I think it may be executive order. He wants to. Now, first of all, have you been to Alcatraz?
I've not. I've seen it, out across the water,
sure.
but I've not taken the tour.
Been there.
Yeah.
I've sat in. Was it Al Capone? Yeah, Al Capone's cage.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Like
cell.
a cell.
A cell.
Yeah. It's a person cage.
It's basically a cage.
But I've sat in his cell. It was creepy.
I'll bet.
Very. So if we open that back up, first of all, it means no more tours. So you can't go on tour. I mean, I assume no more tours. Can't go on tours if there are bad guys that live there. But it is kind of a romantic, sort of a cool thing to think about. The guys that tried to escape and they all drowned or were eaten by sharks. I mean, it's freezing water there. I think only 3 were ever known. They weren't known to have escaped, but they were not known to have died or been captured. Does that make sense? It was like question mark.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know. We don't know what happened.
They're just gone.
Gone. They could have been chomped up in the water and we don't know.
So many pieces we never found.
We don't know. Or maybe they got away. But for the most part, no. You don't escape from there. So not a bad place to send the bad guys. And finally on the president, this is Trump heavy. But it's also a sort of fun. It's all light. I think it's all NPR, PBS.
I know.
Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Listen to me, kids. They get $500 million a year. $500 million a year through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And you talk about thumb on the scale.
Yeah.
I agree with the president about this. Pull that funding. I mean, they do not broadcast a balance. Now, by the way, Fox News doesn't either.
Yeah.
Guess what?
They're not
Fox
taking
that's right.
Federal money.
I think NPR, you want to have you want to have a rolling 3 stories that you do all 24 hours a day. Those same 3 are going to roll all the time. It's climate, it's this, and it's that. And you're going to roll those same 3. And that's fine. I have no problem doing that. If that's a station you want to have or the network you want to have, go do it, but not on taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, there's a reason why there are no real liberal standout radio stations or maybe even shows in the whole country.
There's not enough. There aren't enough fans to support them.
That's right.
Financially,
That's
whether
exactly
commercially or in a public.
So if it's a commercial venture, let the market decide. The market can decide what it needs. If there was really a need to balance things out, if that's the mindset behind, well, we have to do public broadcasting because if we don't, I mean, everything out there is the other side. Okay, how about this? If everything out there is the other side on the pro-life issue, everybody's telling you it's not a baby.
Right.
Everybody's telling you it's unviable tissue mass. It's a clump of cells. If everything out there is saying that, why don't we have taxpayer dollars going to pro-life?
The other side.
Yeah. And you know what? By hundreds of millions of dollars, it goes to that side, to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
So don't use that whole. The aberrant gets the support. The aberrant gets the money, and it shouldn't be that way. And watch for Trump to seek to defund Planned Parenthood, too. And I'm for it. I say defund it. They're a nonprofit. Let them compete like every nonprofit. Let them raise money like every nonprofit raises money. Let them give stuff away instead of selling it. I agree with the president on, taxpayer dollars going for NPR and PBS and Corporation for Public Broadcasting and for Planned Parenthood. I agree with pulling those funds. Let them compete like everybody else has to compete.
We were just recently in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah.
I saw this thing today that I just thought was just incredible. Across several California counties, 4 counties, actually, the threshold for being a low-income household has surged, some by as much as $30,000 in just 5 years, okay? So this comes from a California Department of Housing and Community Development report that was released last month, and it talks about these 4 Bay Area counties: Marin, San Mateo, San Francisco, and Santa Clara. The low income limit for a single-person household crossed the 6-figure threshold.
Oh my.
One of them increased, I mentioned this at the top, I think by more than $30,000 since 2020. So that was Santa Clara County, which $111,700 that's the highest low-income benchmark for a single-person household. So you are a single person. You are earning $111,700 a year. You are a low-income person.
You're considered a low income.
That is a low-income household.
That's crazy.
That's $33,150 more than it was just 5 years ago.
Well, part of the problem is that $33,000, where do you think it goes? It goes to taxes.
Yeah, well,
taxes and fees. I mean, the taxes in California are insane.
Right.
Not a person in California. If you make $111,000 in California, in these counties, you know what that means you walk away with? That's $111,000. Yeah, but it's not really that.
Right.
That's just your gross.
Right.
Once you pay all the fees, and these counties and these cities that have crazy rules and laws about homeless and whatnot and all the stuff that you're paying for, drug, whatever, and that's, I know, not necessarily for these counties.
And the cost of everything, too, when you add
And the
that on top of it.
Yeah.
Well, there and Marin and San Mateo and San Francisco were not far behind that, with that figure coming in at $109,700 for each. But those counties only saw a $12,100 increase since 2020. So they're right around the same amount to be considered a low-income household, but they were pretty close to that 5 years ago anyway.
And as people who travel on occasion, Lauren, you watching what's going on in Newark?
Yeah.
The Newark airport?
I didn't even know why that was happening.
Yeah. United Airlines has removed some flights from the schedule. I mean, total traffic woes in Newark.
For days and days and days, right?
I've flown into Newark in New Jersey. That's okay. I mean, it's an okay airport.
Yeah.
But the thing here is it has to do with staffing. Passengers that are traveling in or out of Newark Liberty International over this last weekend continued to face delays, cancellations. Major airline announced reduction in its flight schedule. United Airlines canceled 35 round-trip flights from its Newark airport per day this weekend. So that's a pretty big deal. And it was United's CEO who said more than 20% of Newark's air traffic controllers walked off the job this past week.
Wow.
And that forced the airline to, they say, indefinitely remove nearly 36 round-trip flights.
Do we know what they're...
Per day.
Wow. What they're protesting? What the problem is?
Okay, controllers for Newark used to be based in Long Island, on Long Island, before the FAA forced them to transfer.
Okay.
So they didn't like that. And after 2 system outages last week, many of those people put in for medical leave, and it led to a staffing crisis. So 20% walked off the job.
Wow.
Last week. There were a couple of more close calls at Reagan National. Did you see that?
I did see that.
I mean, I think I'm going to be flying into that same airport again in the next couple of weeks. They down that very same thing. It had to do with an Army. They got to get it together. Make a note to call them, Lauren, and tell them that before we are traveling there again to get it together.
Yeah, if they would do that, please, for us.
That would be fantastic. Oh, it is time for Scatter Shoot.
Let's go.
Wilder Show Scatter Shoot. Just throw it all out there. Just see what happens.
Throw it up in the air?
Yep. Speaking of up in the air, I don't say that.
What?
I was going to say something, but I'm afraid somebody might be offended by it. You know, how much care I take, Lauren, in not offending.
I don't know what you were going to talk about.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Here, I'll tell you off the air real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say...
when you said up in the air, I thought you were going to congratulate George Clooney on his Tony Award nomination.
Oh, did he get one? I don't know. What was it for?
Good night and good luck.
Oh, good for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's for his hair dye show?
Yes, that's what he calls it, his hair dye show.
Hair dye show.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good for him. The Antoinettes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be good. We'll have to. When is that? When are the Antoinettes?
Sometime in the summer.
Really?
June or July.
Huh. Why
June.
is that? Is there a season of releases that would? No, it's from the last calendar year, right?
Just like anything else, I guess. I'm sure there's some cutoff date. But I don't know.
Is that the last of the awards season? Is the Twinettes?
Well, aren't the? I don't know. I mean, the Grammys were in February.
Yeah.
But the Emmys are usually in September. The Oscars were in April. I think when they talk about like, how do I know all that? I think when they talk about awards season, I don't think they mean like, Grammys, Emmys, Tonys. I think awards season is like covers all the movies, and it's the Golden Globes and the Screen Actors Guild, and even though those have some things with TV in them too, and the Independent Spirit and the Directors Guild and the Producers Guild and the BAFTAs and all, that's award season. Yeah.
Sounds fascinating.
I'm not even going to dignify that with a remark.
I just play with you.
You're not.
I am. I watch all the award shows.
Sometimes
I do. I watch the award shows. I like it. But some of them, some are more interesting to me than others.
Yeah. Well, it can't compete with golf.
I'm sure. Huh?
Can't compete with golf.
Well, no. I mean, I understand. I'm eclectic. I have eclectic tastes.
Yeah. Not really, though.
I do. I could watch a little of this, or I could watch a little of that.
Uh-huh.
I can enjoy both.
Yeah.
I can enjoy a good sporting event. I can enjoy a good night at the opera.
Have you ever been to the opera?
I have. I saw Madame Butterfly.
Where? Like in China or something like that?
The Dallas opera place at the Dallas musicals.
Did you really?
Yeah. Many years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smarty pants. Speaking of songs, can I just say that it was with some satisfaction that something we talked about on the podcast regarding a song.
Okay.
Last podcast, I now can report. You said that my job, my assignment, was to go find out if the thing that I said just might be true, was in fact true. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember. Tell me.
Was Cracker Jack the first
wait, you did tell me
candy
about
in a song?
I was thinking candy,
Yeah.
and I wasn't thinking about the song part of it. But yes.
Take Me Out to the Ball Game, which we talked about.
First,
The anniversary of that was last Friday. And I said, if you're going to the game, just know it's a very special day. And then at the end of telling that little story, I said, you know what? I bet that's the first candy ever in a song.
You were right.
And we were trying to figure out, I didn't really think for sure that I was, but the more I thought of it, I thought, well, I mean, not a lot of candies were like branded.
Yeah.
And so are still, way back then, but there could have been anything. But it turns out, for those keeping track, that it was, in fact, the first candy ever in a song was Buy Me Some Peanuts and Cracker Jack. And it secured a Cracker Jack in our in baseball lore. And we sing it every seventh inning.
And I went to the ball game on Friday night, and I mentioned that to all the people around me.
Oh, did you really?
I shared that fact with everyone around me.
How did they think you were really smart?
They didn't really care. but I felt smart.
Okay, very good. Very good. Guess who died in the last week? I mean, obviously, more than one person died in the last week.
I don't know.
The little lady with the handbag from Laugh-In. Ruth Buzzy died.
Did she really?
She did. Yeah. I really liked her. I really
liked her too.
Very funny. Just a very funny lady. And I don't know the
Wow.
details of it, but she died like in the last few days, actually. But Ruth Buzzy.
You watched Laugh-In?
Yeah, it was not really. My parents weren't really keen on some aspects of it. I think it kind of reminded them maybe of, I don't know, the way we liked also to watch Love American Style.
Yeah.
Which, truer than the red, white, and blue. Loved watching American. But that was not really, that wasn't really as family friendly as we were, allowed to be. Yes, I liked Laugh-In. Thought it was very funny.
There were things I was not allowed to watch. But I watched those. I mean, I remember we watched Love American Style. The first big verboten that I remember was Soap. I was in 8th grade.
Why was that?
I don't know. Mature audiences. I don't remember, what in particular it was.
But who was even in that?
Billy Crystal. I think that was the first thing that Billy Crystal was ever in.
Gotcha.
And then there were who else? The guy who played the butler, he got a spinoff. Benson, whoever played Benson.
Gotcha. Okay.
Robert Guillaume. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Guillaume. Yeah.
Other people you'd recognize too. But yeah, was not allowed to watch that. I think there was a lot of adult activity in that show. And I was really mad about that because all my friends could watch it and I couldn't. And now kids, doesn't really matter. Actually,
Robert Urich was in it?
Yes.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay.
I met him once.
You did really?
I did. I have a picture of my mom and myself and Robert Urich. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a cancer survivors
really
thing.
That's interesting. Any other verbotens?
That's the only one I can remember. I'm sure there were other things, but that's all I remember. I know you think that I'm crazy for the pet stories. 56% of people said they would shave years off of their lives if they could add it to their pet's lifespan. And I kind of think I think I'm in the other 44%. I don't think I do that.
They don't really mean that. That is just something they say. There's no way they actually mean that.
They also say that they trust their animals more than humans. 53% trust their pet over their romantic partner. And I don't know, what does that mean? You trust them? They're not helping you make a living. They're not helping you, cover the mortgage, right? They're not. Yeah. They can't share your secrets because they can't talk. So you can trust them with that. You can whisper a lot of things in their in their soft little ears, and they're not going to share it. But I don't really know about trusting. 38% said they trust their pets' instincts more than their own, and I don't really know how that.
What they mean is that old thing of
like if a stranger or
if a dog likes a. Listen, man, there are plenty of dogs that would run right up to Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
So don't just tap the brakes a little bit on the old trust thing. And by the way, if you trust your dog more than your partner or your
romantic
spouse
partner
or whoever or your friend or a human being, the next time you have a flat in the rain, call your dog.
Well,
and see how that works.
Maybe there are a lot of people who don't have friends that they can call in that situation.
Well, then call me. I will help you, but you can't call a dog.
Why don't you give your number right now?
All right, it's okay. I'll give my number right now. You ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Doesn't even need an area code.
You're not going to do it.
I'm going to do it. Ready?
Okay.
867 5309.
That's a song.
It should be.
That's not.
It has a ring to it.
That's not your number.
So if you have problems, call your dog or I'm your man. We talked about this before. I think there is confusion about value.
Well, I think there is too, but I also, I know exactly what you mean. And I remember hearing something many years ago that you and I were at the same place in the same audience.
I know where you're going.
Hearing this talked about. It was about college students who, if they were choosing between, they could only save one being,
Drowning.
and it was a stranger who was a human they'd never met
Right.
before, or their dog from drowning, which would they choose?
Right.
And they chose their dog, and the gasps that went up in the room from the people who were just appalled. This was 20 years ago?
Long time ago.
22, 23, 24 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think the number of people who would be shocked by that now you can probably cut it in about in half.
Well, I think so, but that's sort of my point. Is that we've lost this understanding. Now, look, I'm not saying that you couldn't prefer the company of any particular animal to the worst, most human. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
Would I rather spend time with a dog than people that I hate? Yes, I would rather spend, but that does not speak to the value. The value of a human is greater than the value of the dog. I could not want to be around any of those valuable humans,
of course,
and want to be around all of those less valuable animals. But I think we've actually gone beyond. This is my preference. There is a sense now that I think some people have that they really are more valuable.
I don't think this really speaks to the value of the animals, though. I think it says more about how lonely people are.
You could be a person that is lonely and still understand the relative value of an animal. Look, I've had dogs. I've lost dogs. Died, had to put them down, whatever.
Yeah, me too.
It's terrible. I kidded around and said that there's some people that I know I would rather have done that to than the dog that I had. The dogs.
Just remember which one of us said that.
Yeah, no, it's true. But obviously I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But I just meant, that it's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's a loss and all that. But
I just meant I don't think this particular thing, the people who say they would shave years off of their own lives if they could add it to their pet's lifespan. I don't think that is necessarily devaluing their lives. I think that it's speaking to the value they believe their animals bring to their lives. And it might be that animals are bringing so much value to their lives because they don't have those relationships with people.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because that's actually a very interesting pivot there. So a person who would say that, I'm just following your thoughts here. No, this is not an argument, by the way. I'm not counterpoint. Then the extension of the animal's life is for their own benefit.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Well, that's it. That's actually a little bit okay. So it's not an altruistic thing.
No,
they're not saying that I just want the dog to be able to live longer. They're saying I want the dog to have more time when I'm here.
Yes.
I gotcha. Well, in that case, that certainly that then makes sense.
Yeah.
And makes sort of what I said before not make as much sense if it's viewed that way. I thought they were really valuing they just valued themselves more, and the dog is their nice accessory or whatever.
Or their companion.
Or whatever.
Yeah. I think that the value of the animals for some is greater if you don't have people that you're connected to.
I agree.
For whatever reason.
I agree.
It was a survey of 2,000 cat and dog owners. 56% believe the animal has saved their life in some way. Being sick and knowing I had to get home to my babies saved me. They don't even differentiate between dogs or cats. It's just pets in general. Maybe somebody has a bird that they're really, really attached to. But 56% of people surveyed said that they would shave years off of their own lives if they could add it to their pet's lifespan.
And real quick, the Dallas Stars against the Colorado Avalanche.
Right.
I think last time we chatted, they were going to play Friday. On Friday, they played on Saturday.
Yes, they played on Saturday.
So we had So we were on here on Friday, and that meant that Saturday was Game 7,
right?
And it was going to be played here at home. And son of a gun, the Dallas Stars had done virtually nothing on offense,
right,
for 2.5 periods. It was like 10 minutes left in the whole thing, series. We're down 2-0. Then son of a gun, a guy named Mikko Rantanen does it. He scores. Fantastic. A couple of minutes later, this other guy named Mikko Rantanen scores. He does it. A couple of minutes later, this guy named Mikko Rantanen assists on somebody else's score. And then before the end of time running out, this guy named Mikko Rantanen for the hat trick.
Big night.
In Game 7, where they were down 2-0.
Yeah.
At home, scores, and we won 4-2. It was an amazing cool thing to watch. And the coolest part about it is, it was Colorado Avalanche against the Dallas Stars.
Right.
Mikko Rantanen, guess who he played for a decade, who then they traded him, and then he ended up as a Dallas Star. It was the Colorado Avalanche.
Isn't that so cool? Their loss, our gain.
Man. I love it. Anyway, what a wonderful, wonderful night of sport that was. Real quick before we go, Lauren and I will be with you weekday mornings from 5 a.m. to 9 Central Time at something called The Light. And you can hear some great music. We're there every weekday morning. You can download the app, and all you have to do is search The Light DFW wherever you get your apps.
Right.
And then listen to it there. Or go to turnonthelight.com.
That's right.
Online. I like the app better. I don't want to be tethered.
I know. The app is really cool.
We all want to be tethered to our phones, but we don't want to be tethered.
Well, we kind of already are tethered to our phones, which makes it even more convenient.
Yeah. So there you go. So go, and we will see you weekday mornings on The Light. Instagram, if you want to follow us on Instagram, you simply go to Instagram, and then you will search Wilder Show Pod, and you'll find us there. A small but curiously strong gathering. If you'd like to email us, we do answer our email. We really are lonely and love to get your notes. Email to podcast@wildershow.com. Thoughts, questions, comments. If you heard something we talked about and want more information, or if you heard something I said and you want there to be less information, you can send us an email to podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. Here you go.
Well done.
And we will see you next time. Da 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 Cane's does not do chicken sandwiches. They don't do chicken nuggets. They don't do chicken salad. Right. They do one thing.
They do.
Chicken fingers. That's it. Nothing else. And we released them at the same time.
I have never even heard of that.
Oh my gosh. You don't watch enough Dateline.
I guess not.
Oh my land.
I did watch a lot of Dateline over the weekend.
Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
It's 867. What is it? 5309. Is there a way to rescue this? Speaking of dogs, you rescue a human on this? The Chicago Avalanche.
Colorado.
What'd I say?
Chicago.
Oh, sorry.